When great forces are on the move in the world, we learn we're spirits, not animals. There's something going on in time and space and beyond time and space. Spells duty. You and I have the ability and the dignity and the right to make our own decisions and determine our own destiny.
Well, thank you so much. How's everybody doing tonight? Are you sure? Is that mic killing you? Is that good? Ringing a little bit? All right. We'll make it work. So, first of all, thank you guys for having us out here. We really appreciate it. Thank you for inviting me to share my story. I'm really grateful for that opportunity. And I've titled this message, To Plea or Not to Plea. Because I love drama. But I'm actually standing here because I've had the honor and privilege of working alongside of Dr. Gold and America's Frontline Doctors for a couple years now. That was the result of a choice that I faced back in 2020 when the government said, you can't live your life until we say it's safe to do so. But I'm not interested in being safe. I'm interested in being obedient to God. And God has called us to freedom. So before working with America's Frontline Doctors, I was a professional artist. I was born here in California, actually, and grew up in a very lively and loving Italian-American family. And I was blessed with God-fearing parents who taught me the real truths that actually matter. I was active, curious, and passionate about many things, but especially music and media. I became a songwriter and a recording artist, touring in a band with my awesome brother, Bobby Strand. If you guys love worship music, you might know him. And then I grew into a full-time career as a fashion model and an actor in Hollywood. Sort of like a Forrest Gump story a little bit. But then lockdowns brought my developing career to a screeching halt. And more than that, they seemed to end the capacity of most people around me to use their brains whatsoever. We are a people of plexiglass. And I found that very concerning. I found it an existential crisis, as the lunatic left loves to hyperbolize. But in this case, it was actually a threat to existence. People were just pressing the pause button on their life because the TV told them to. Did you guys ever see that Adam Sandler movie, Click? Remember that? Yeah, he thought that life remote control was so slick until he realized that he couldn't get the time back. So back in 2020, when the world was going nuts, I could tell the corona chaos, as I like to call it, was a huge lie, instantly. And I also knew where it was going. So instead of just taking the easy path and chilling out in my apartment in Los Angeles, waiting until Daddy Gov told me it was safe to live again, I took a different path, the one that I believed God was calling me to, and that was the path of most resistance to tyranny. So I started resisting. I helped to lead the Beverly Hills Freedom Rally in LA, and we got President Trump to tweet our rally to the whole country. We even got Dr. Gold to show up. And that was a big success, and it got people excited and engaged, and it taught me a lot. And apparently Dr. Gold thought I was doing some good work, so it was my honor to accept her invitation to start helping her with her mission to speak the truth and to slow the spread of propaganda. Now, she didn't exactly warn me about the FBI SWAT team, raids, violent arrests, federal prison, and all that. But like I said, I wasn't interested in the safe route. Still, it was obviously a shock to all of us when, after doing nothing except our job on January 6th, we were attacked by the government like violent criminals and charged with a 20-year prison felony, along with a side of 4 misdemeanors. Now, to be clear, Dr. Gold was a scheduled speaker at a rally with a government-approved permit, and I was her professional security detail. So I knew exactly what I did that day and exactly what I didn't do. So I knew I was 100% completely innocent of any crimes. But I also knew that the government was corrupt and that they hated me and the values that I stand for. So I knew that they would convict me anyway. So I don't suppose that many of you here have a specific experience to compare this to exactly. Well, except for the next speaker. But I want to ask you guys a serious question. If you were innocent and your government charged you with a 20-year felony, but offered you a single misdemeanor plea deal, would you take the deal? It's so easy. All you have to do is publicly testify and sign your life to a sworn statement and that agrees with the government's fraudulent lie about what happened. Just go along with their version of the story. In exchange, you get the potential prison time reduced from 24 years to less than 1. But it would be a lie. It would be a bended knee to tyranny. So I'm sure you know the story of Daniel facing the lion's den. But I've actually always loved the story of Daniel's countrymen, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. You guys remember the beginning of that? So the king of Babylon, that's an ancient form of Biden. Yeah. So the crazy senile king of Babylon at that time built an impressive statue of himself. And then he told the entire kingdom that they were all invited to a huge party, like a huge rally. And all these crazy instruments and song and dance. And when you heard the music, everyone had to bow down to the statue. Just bend the knee and everything is fine. You'll be safe. Only problem is, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were not called by God to bend the knee to the government. So they remained standing. And that was the very first insurrection. Sort of. No, but seriously, they defied the mandate. They said, "No way, Jose." As my mom likes to say. The king was so furious at this, he practically lost his mind, screaming at his guards to crank up the temperature of his fiery furnace gulag to 7 times hotter than the normal temperature. It got so hot that the guards literally were killed just from being near it. Now, you guys know how the story ends, right? But those guys were living it. So they did not know at that point if God was going to spare them the pain of that fire. They had no idea if they were going to survive at all. In fact, I'm guessing they felt like they were probably cooked. But what I know for sure is they made a choice. They did not play it safe. They did not take the easy road. They took the righteous road. Now, Dr. Gold, in a second here, is going to tell you about a very exciting book that's coming out soon, which describes a legal term called selective prosecution. In other words, when the government fails to treat their citizens equally under the law, right? But I've noticed a sort of mirrored problem that's happening in our culture, kind of a selective righteousness. So if you only do the right thing when it's safe, when it's easy, when it doesn't hurt too much, are you really doing what's right? How righteous are you if you only make the right choice when it's FDA approved? What would have happened if a few good men had just said no when governments and employers told them to just follow the science, or it's for your safety, or it's just our policy? These last few years, every single person in this room has had a moment, or perhaps many of them, where they have either complied or defied. Henry David Thoreau said in his book, Civil Disobedience, quote, "Must the citizen resign his conscience to the legislator? Why has every man a conscience then? I think that we should be men first and subjects afterward." End quote. Thoreau was asking why people still obey laws even when they think those laws are wrong. For example, over 260 million people were killed by agents of their own government in the 20th century alone. The tragic history of the world is one of deference to and abuse of political authority. So I know it seems irrational to stand on principle against a corrupt government staring down the barrel of a 20-year felony when a simple sidestep would have taken away most of the pain. But I want you guys to know it was not hard for me to make that choice. In fact, it hardly seemed like a choice at all. Thank you. Thank you. I really mean that. I'm not just like saying that for dramatic effect, as much as I love to do that. But, but really, it wasn't a choice. I remember talking with Dr. Gold in the living room, many times about this. And, my mom and dad are obviously concerned about my well-being, and they love me dearly, and they are proud of me, and they know that I was doing the right thing on that day, and that I keep doing the right thing every day in my life. That's my pursuit. But they care about me. They're my parents. They're worried, And this seems irrational in a certain way of thinking. But it wasn't a choice at all, because I had already made my choice many years ago when I gave my life to Yeshua, when I gave my life to Jesus and dedicated my life on earth to serving Him and to building God's kingdom, not the government's. So I rejected the plea deal. The offer was a fraud, and selective persecution was not a solution. In fact, it was the problem. So I worked diligently for a year of trial preparations, and then in September of 2022, I gave the truth on the witness stand. And for that, I'm very grateful, and I pray that God will use that for His glory. That was a very intense experience, let me tell you. And very, very revealing of the state of affairs in our nation and our culture. It's not in a good state. So the Washington, D.C. jury, certainly not my peers in any way, had obviously determined that I was guilty on arrival. And their conviction on all 5 counts was a foregone conclusion. So I face up to 24 years of prison for these charges. It's weird to say that out loud. It's kind of surreal. My sentencing is scheduled in May, and I will appeal every charge. I hope you'll pray along with me and help support my battle for justice and vindication, along with all of the innocent J6 casualties. Thank you. Thank you, guys. God bless you guys. That makes me so encouraged because, I said a second ago that the culture is in a really bad place, and it is, but at the same time, we have a really cool opportunity, don't we? Really cool. The battle is truly just beginning. It really is. My battle is certainly just beginning, and our opportunity here is just beginning. So for now, I just want to leave you with a quick question posed by Thoreau. He said, quote, "Unjust laws exist, but shall we be content to obey them, or shall we endeavor to amend them?" What's your answer? I'm here today as a witness of this dilemma, so that the next time the choice is presented to you, you might consider Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego when you make your decision. I'm here today to share with you that as I face 24 years in prison, I have 0 regrets. I will not bend the knee to anyone but Yahweh. And neither should any God-fearing man or woman. May God's will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Thank you, guys. God bless you.